Hello, you alright? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Hi, Jeremy Brown, Peter Andrew Coolpix, Sandra, Luke Marshall, how you doing? Chris F.E. Jackson, how you doing? Left Kung Fu, hi. Before we start, Flat Earth here doesn't subscribe to any map or model. There'll be no straw men, maps and models here. Hi, Frankie B. Flat, how you doing? Right. Right, so how is everyone then? Everyone okay? Give it a minute. I'll just show a couple of things. Yep, take down all. Right. I'm going to arrange another meet-up. Just some people to get together, just have a chat and that. Buffering. Does it sound okay? Skegness, Luke Marshall. I used to live there. I lived there for about 2 years. About the mid-90s, I think. Right. Gonna fair use, copyright, all that. Educational purposes. No money to gain yet. Definition of sophistry. The original sophists were ancient Greek teachers of rhetoric and philosophy, prominent in the 5th century BC. In their heyday, these philosophers were considered adroit in their reasoning, but later philosophers, particularly Plato, described them as sham philosophers, out for money and willing to say anything to win an argument. Thus, sophist, which comes from the Greek sophistus, meaning wise man or expert, earned a negative connotation as a captious or fallacious reasoner. Sophistry is reasoning that seems plausible on a superficial level, but is actually unsound, or reasoning that is used to deceive. There's one here, 10 ways to protect yourself from NLP mind control, neuro-linguistic programming. NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, is one of the world's most prevalent methods of mind control, used by everyone from sales callers to politicians to media pundits. And it's nasty to the core. Here's 10 ways to make sure nobody uses it on you ever. It just tells you about when it was first come out and who brought it out and everything else. I'm just going to go down to how can I make sure nobody pulls this horse shit on me? Be extremely wary of people copying your body language. If you're talking to somebody who may be into NLP and you notice that they're sitting in exactly the same way as you or mirroring the way you have your hands, test them by making a few movements and seeing if they do the same thing. Skilled NLPers will be better at masking this than newer ones, but newer ones will always immediately copy the same movement. This is a good time to call people on their shit. Move your eyes in random and unpredictable patterns. This is freaking hilarious to do to troll NLPers, especially in the initial stages of rapport induction. An NLP user will be paying incredibly close attention to your eyes. You may think it's because they're intensely interested in what you're saying. They are, but not because they actually care about your thoughts. They're watching your eye movements to see how you store and access information. In a few minutes, they'll not only be able to tell when you're lying or making something up, they'll also be able to figure out what parts of your brain you're using when you're speaking, which can then lead them to be so clued into what you're thinking that they almost come across as having some kind of psychic insight into your innermost thoughts. A clever hack for this is just randomly dart your eyes around. Look up, to the right, to the left, side to side, down. Make it seem natural, but do it randomly with no pattern. This will drive an NLP person utterly nuts because you'll be throwing off their calibration. Do not let anybody touch you. This is pretty obvious and kind of goes without saying in general, but let's say you're having a conversation with somebody who you know is into NLP and you find yourself in a heightened emotional state. Maybe you start laughing really hard or get really angry or something similar, and the person you're talking to touches you while you're in that state. They might, for instance, tap you on the shoulder. What just happened? They anchored you so that later, if they want to put you back into that state you were just in, they can. Or so the wayward logic of NLP dictates. Touch you in the same place, just be like, oh, hell no, you did not do that. Be wary of vague language. One of the primary techniques that NLP took from Milton Erickson is the use of vague language to induce hypnotic trance. Erickson found that the more vague language is, the more it leads people into trance because there is less that a person is liable to disagree with or react to. Alternatively, more specific language will take a person out of trance. Note Obama's use of this specific technique in the Change campaign, a word so vague that anybody could read anything into it. Be wary of permissive language. Feel free to relax. You're welcome to test drive this car if you like. You can enjoy this as much as you like. What the fuck? Watch the fuck out for this. This was a major insight of pre-NLP hypnotists like Erickson. The best way to get somebody to do something, including going into a trance, is by allowing them to give you permission to do so. Because of this, skilled hypnotists will never command you outright to do something, i.e. go into a trance. They will always say things like, feel free to become as relaxed as you like. Be wary of gibberish. Nonsense phrases like, as you realize this feeling more and more, you will find yourself moving into present alignment with the sound of your success more and more. This kind of gibberish is the bread and butter of the pacing and leading phase of NLP. The hypnotist isn't actually saying anything. They're just trying to program your internal emotional states and move you towards where they want you to go. Always say, can you be more specific about that? Or can you explain exactly what you mean? This does two things. It interrupts this whole technique, and it also forces the conversation into specific language, breaking the trance-inducing use of vague language we discussed in number 4. Read between the lines. NLP people will consistently Use language with hidden or layered meanings. For instance, diet, nutrition, and sleep with me are the most important things, don't you think? On the surface, if you heard this sentence quickly, you would seem like it would seem like an obvious statement that you would probably agree with without much thought. Yes, of course, diet, nutrition, and sleep are important things. Sure, and this person's really into being healthy. That's great. But what's the layered in this message? Diet, nutrition, and sleep with me are the most important things. Don't you think? Yep. And you just unconsciously agree to it. Skilled NLPers can be incredibly subtle with this. Watch your attention. Be very careful about zoning out around NLP people. It's an invitation to leap in with an unconscious cue. Here's an example. An NLP user who was attempting to get me to write for his blog for free noticed I appeared not to be paying attention and was looking into the distance, and then started using the technique listed in number 7 by talking about how he never has to pay for anything because media outlets send him review copies of books and albums for free. Everything for free. He began hissing at me. I get everything for free. Obvious. No. Don't agree to anything. If you find yourself being led to make a quick decision on something and feel you're being steered, leave the situation. Wait 24 hours before making any decisions, especially financial ones. Do not let yourself get swept up into making an emotional decision in the spur of the moment. Salespeople are armed with NLP techniques, specifically for engineering impulse buys. Don't do it. Leave and use your rational mind. Trust your intuition. And the foremost and primary rule, if your gut tells you somebody is fucking with you or you feel uneasy around them, trust it. NLP people almost always seem off, dodgy, or like used car salesmen. Flee or request they show you the respect of not applying NLP techniques when interacting with you. Hopefully this short guide will be of assistance to you in resisting this annoying and pernicious modern form of black magic. Take it with you on your phone or a printout next time you're at the used car sales lot. Getting signed up for a gym membership or watching a politician speak on TV. You'll easily find yourself surprised how you allow yourself to notice more and more NLP techniques, more and more, don't you think? Yeah, I see there's a bit of NLP there as well. They said, don't you think? There we go, there's that one. There's that quick one about NLP. I'm going to put a link now in the chat so you can go and have a look for yourselves in a bit. And like I said, get a copy and read it and learn it so you know then when people are using it on you, using NLP, like the media and anyone you interact with. I'm just going to get the link, put it in the chat. Copy. Paste. Send. There we go. That Chris Effie Jackson. I used to think NLP meant no longer programmed. No, it's neuro-linguistic programming. It's a type of mind control. And it seems to be used a lot, especially in the mainstream and stuff like that, politicians and stuff like that. So if you learn that, you'll know it's being used on you, like salespeople and stuff like that as well. So there's that. We'll give it a minute and I'll do another one on pseudoscience. I've already done a video on it on my channel, but I'm just going to reiterate it. How you doing, Chris Hayes? Skyviewer1, how you doing? I hope people find that interesting. Good read to go and read it. Hi, Stephen Watson. Good. Right, show something else, I think. Hang on one sec. Phone. What's this? What's this here? Fine. Another one. Just a quick thing again. Look, copyright, educational purposes, and all that. We'll do this one. What is pseudoscience? A theory, methodology, or practice that purports to be scientific yet is without scientific foundation. Pseudosciences are practices that masquerade themselves as science, but have little or no scientific rigor or cohesion to them. They claim to be factual and scientific, yet do not adhere to scientific methodology and principles, notably the scientific principle of falsifiability. It can be difficult for the non-scientist to discern whether something being claimed is scientific actually or is or not. Fortunately, pseudoscience has many recognizable features that are distinct from genuine science. These features are outlined below. Whilst not every feature will be common to every form of pseudoscience, any claimed scientific practice that displays at least some of these features is increasingly likely to be pseudoscientific. It's dogmatic. A dogmatic belief or position is one that is deemed by its proponents to be accepted authority, and as such, not to be doubted or disputed. Well, there you go. There's a heliocentric model. It's deemed by its proponents to be accepted authority, and it should not be doubted or disputed. Pseudosciences tend to have evolved very little, or not at all, since the dogma was first established. Any research or explanation that is carried out in the field is generally done more to justify the belief than to improve knowledge. In science, observations are made. A hypothesis is formed, data are gathered, and testing is done. And if the results of testing supports the hypothesis, a theory or provisional conclusion is formulated. If any evidence comes to light that invalidates the conclusion will be amended or even rejected, and a replacement idea or theory sought. In pseudoscience, they begin with a solid conclusion, such as homeopathy works. I won't say I would agree with that, I don't know, because I've not looked into that. Form theories as to why it works, collect data that support the conclusion, and reject or explain away data that doesn't, which inevitably results in the conclusion being confirmed. With this system, no evidence is capable of contradicting the conclusion. Challenging the accepted dogma is often considered a hostile act, and such challenges will be fought off with attacks on the critic's character or motives, rather than embraced as a way of testing claims as in real science. As a consequence, the same arguments and counter-arguments are seen time and again. This is exactly what we're seeing with this whole question. Scientists give reasons why the practice is a pseudoscience. The pseudoscientists respond with excuses and attacks on scientists or us and or science itself. A bit about the idea is aimed directly at the public. Ideas that are non-testable. Crucial problem with many pseudoscientific ideas is that they cannot be tested in any meaningful way. This can come about because what is being claimed is so nebulous and vague, it is difficult to conceive of how one would test it. Also, such vagueness facilitates a legion of possible interpretations, where just about anything could be made to fit the outcome, to support the original claim. If a claim or theory cannot be tested, then it cannot be falsified, unless it violates a central principle of science, that is, that of falsifiability. If a theory cannot be falsified, then no evidence can be gleaned that would speak to the issue one way or the other. It is thus scientifically meaningless. Ideas that cannot be tested are no more right than they are completely wrong. One reason that theories from pseudoscience are vague and untestable is that the language used by the proponents is far too vacuous itself. This often results in a theory that is so conceptually slippery, it becomes difficult to identify what is actually being argued, or how one might test it. Due to their nebulous content, such practices also clearly always hide all sorts of circular reasoning errors. Over complex words, phrases, and overlong sentences are employed in an attempt to look scientific and intelligent. Indeed, in pseudoscience, the more scientific type language employed, the more plausible it appears to be. However, all this really accomplishes is confusion. Poorly defined terms like energy, resonance, quantum, nano, dimensions are all used with no useful explicit definitions provided. They are meant to look scientific, to look respectable in order to add weight to an idea, which is in reality both implausible and improbable. Poor writing often reflects poor thought and poor understanding. Whenever one encounters flowery and verbose language, it is likely the authors or the speakers do not fully understand what they are talking about. Verbose language is used to fill in the gaps of knowledge by making it sound as if something profound and insightful is being said, when in fact the sentence rarely goes anywhere. Conceptual hijacking. Confirmation bias, selective evidence. Many people report a common perception of thinking about someone. Then the phone rings and the caller is the person they were thinking of. Is this strong evidence for a psychic ability between these people? The answer is no. It reflects a selective bias in memory and reason. Although we can remember the instances when this does happen, as they can be striking, we rarely remember the instances when it is not the person we were thinking of. Our memory is biased to place an emphasis on the hits and ignore the misses. In a similar manner, researchers can sometimes concentrate only on that evidence that is consistent with the argument being developed, the hits, and ignore other evidence that contradicts it, the misses. This is known as a confirmation bias. And where are we? Where we are biased to only notice observations that confirm our assumptions. The confirmation bias relies on a positive biased focus and weighting towards only the evidence which is consistent with the current belief or worldview, and a negative bias to ignore results that challenge the view. It may be impressive to see a dowser find water in a single trial, but this on its own does not mean dowsing works. When we run tests and see that on many trials the dowser failed to locate water, the scant and periodic instances when they are successful no longer look impressive. Metaphorical or analogy-driven thinking. Metaphors and analogies are essential to science and theory. Complex and more abstract areas of science rely particularly on metaphor and analogy to add clarity to knowledge and to communicate that knowledge. This is perfectly legitimate and indeed, to some extent, unavoidable. In science, analogies and metaphors may emerge as useful ways to think about, describe, and explain objective facts and evidence. For example, psychologists have employed the metaphor of visual selective attention being like a spotlight, illuminating the relevant information out there in the world from the surrounding darkness of all that we ignore. In many respects, this had proved a very fruitful metaphor, guiding thinking in this area of study. The problem here is not the use of analogies or metaphor in scientific thinking, but the clear abuse of them. Quite often, the richer and more intuitively appealing the analogy, the more true the claim being made appears to be. This can occur to such an extent that the analogy becomes a potent mind trap and dominates all thinking on this issue. This is an error. Scientific argument should be based on evidence, not analogy. The role of analogy in science is for illustration and communication. It is not for basing a claim of provisional truth. All analogies provide a degree of similarity to that which it is being applied to. This is why they are recruited as an illustration. However, there is also much dissimilarity as well, and this is often missed. Again, another form of selection bias. Ultimately, every analogy or metaphor will cease to work, so it is crucial that any argument is not solely dependent on the analogy for its claim as a truth, as Falouz 1968 goes on to point out. In some cases, the analogy has no direct relevance or implication for the case being argued. The fallacy of the argument by irrelevant analogy, a special case of the non sequitur type of fallacy. For example, modern creationists and advocates of intelligent design use analogies drawn from human design and engineering to argue with similar patterns in nature. Right, okay. So I'm going to put a link to this anyway, so everyone can go and have a look. Anecdotes as evidence. Although anecdotal evidence has its place in scientific theory, no theory should be solely dependent on anecdotal evidence. Anecdotal evidence is a poor and unreliable source of evidence. For example, it is important that any theory of memory can explain the anecdotal experience of forgetting. But this should not just be based on anecdotes of forgetting, but on empirical demonstrations of the failure to retain information under controlled conditions. Lack of explicit mechanisms. Special pleading. I'm going to leave a link to that now as well. There's that one. A bit on pseudoscience as well. Yeah, the sky's been all right, yeah. Last few days. Hopefully it's nice tomorrow. Talked to 2 Ukrainian tourists today, asked them about the current war in Ukraine. They said there's no war. No, what's everybody saying then? Talking about Ukrainian tourists. Hi, Richie BFE, how you doing? Concerned citizen. There's a couple of magpies in tree in wood at the back of my house here. And they had a nest. Squirrels were trying to get up to the nest, and magpies were chasing them off all the time, protecting the nest. Hi, Lady Onyx. How you doing? Well, I've put links in the chat anyway to them 2 things. If you want to go and have a look about NLP and and about pseudoscience. Hi, Tony Dixon. I haven't met you in my life. How you doing? Hi, Andy, aka Rudolph. Yeah, I'm going to do another meet. I think I'm going to do it at Graves Park this time in Sheffield, outside the Rose Cafe. I don't know when. Have a look. I don't know when anyone else is having theirs. Let's have a look at the calendar. I don't know when anyone else is having theirs. Maybe the 2nd of June, I think. Next one. So we've got the 19th, the 26th, the 2nd. There's a few meetups on the 26th of May, isn't there? Somewhere. I don't know, I might. Yes, Tamo, I watched it as well. On my phone in the kitchen. Bristol, 26th of May. Right. There you go. There's a meet up in Bristol on the 26th of May. You know, anyone know whereabouts? Give it a shout out. What do I think? I used to be subscribed a long time ago, and I've unsubscribed now because I can't watch the videos anymore. They don't sit right with me. They don't sit right. So I just unsubscribe. Don't watch them anymore. Like I said, I unsubscribed from John Smith Globe Live because the videos just didn't sit right. They didn't feel right. Bristol Castle Park, 26th of May, 1 p.m. There you go. There's a meet up. Do you know who's arranging that one? Every metal in my life, I'm just doing what I have to do. You know what I mean? We've all got to learn. We've all got to learn to empower ourselves and see through all this bullshit, basically, and progress, basically. Oh, there's one. That one's Jamie Brown, isn't it? Manchester Heaton Park, 2nd of June, 12 p.m. Yeah, it's Jamie Brown. I think Manchester Heaton Park, 2nd of June, 12 p.m. I just saw the video earlier before I come on. I think. Stables Cafe, that's the one at Manchester, into Eaton Park. Stables Cafe. Andy, aka Rudolph Hessian sack. Yeah, unfortunately, there is certain people out there that are trying to put a spanner in the works, basically. There is people out there doing that. That's why we've got to learn all these stuff about logical fallacy, trivium, all that sort of stuff, NLP and all that stuff. to see through it basically and go, right, okay, well they don't seem legit and stuff like that. You know what I mean, and learn to discern who's who. Of course, there's going to be people out there doing stuff like that. This is one of the biggest things. It's the biggest threat to the people that, well, the powers that should not be. That's what I like to call them. The biggest threat to their power. So of course they're going to have people infiltrating and stuff like that. You've got to keep your eye out and be careful. Watch your back. Like when you have these meetups as well, you got to be careful. Who turns up, who's there. You don't know who anybody is really. And discern for yourself and try and figure out who people are. Make sure that try to find out if they're genuine or not. And you just have to keep, what do you call it? Just keep telling the truth. Keep being active. Keep talking to people. I had a delivery driver the other day talking to him about stuff. Brought my shopping from supermarket, talking to him. I had my visual infamy t-shirt on, talking to him about the physics of water, how we, what they call it, make and maintain pressure here on Earth, and telling him about the trivium and logical fallacy and stuff like that. I didn't mention flat Earth, but I would just, you know what I mean, planting those few little seeds, you know what I mean, about the trivium and stuff like that, and hopefully he'll go away and look into the trivium, you know what I mean? Told him about what the education system is and what it's built upon, the Prussian education / mimicry system, and that. Told him all about that. Delivery driver, so hopefully they'll have a look. And once he's looked into all that stuff, he might come back, you know what I mean, and go, well, hang on a minute, you know what I mean? He might ask more questions if I see him again, you know what I mean? So, because as citizen, you said follow the money, but I don't think it's not about the money, I don't think. Because they're the ones that print the money, they're the ones that make the money, so it's not about money, I don't think. There's more to it than that, to be honest. They don't need the money. So, exactly. It's a real shame. They're so preoccupied with sabotaging us. But clearly there is, yeah. It is a threat, so that's why it's so obvious. You've just got to watch the mainstream media and all the ridicule and all the logical fallacy they use and everything else. Just see that it's a threat. They're trying to put people off looking and put people off doing serious research and stuff and looking at it seriously. Stephen Watson, I'd serve you a beer with that beer. Without it, no low. Lol. Okay, what? I don't drink that often, to be honest. Yeah, Tony Dixon, power, control. Yeah. We don't know. We don't know if there's more land or not. There could be, you know what I mean? And they could be hiding resources. Saying that everything's like running out and stuff, so they can hike prices up. It's not about them making money to hike price. That's why they're hiking prices up. It's about us having to pay more, so we've got less money for ourselves to be able to do anything. We're more controlled. Well, yeah, if you want to find the infiltrators, follow the money, yeah. But he said it's probably about the money for them type of people, but not for the people that are perpetrating it all. They're right at the top. It's not about money to them. That's why no amount of money would stop me doing what I'm doing. You could offer me 10 million tomorrow, and I'd turn it down and say, no, you're all right. I'll let you off. Yeah, it's about putting people in like Del said earlier, putting people in a pen and penning people off. A good analogy is about the sheep, like wandering off out of the pen, and then they have to reround them sheep back up again and put them in another pen and stuff like that, and then tar everyone with the same brush, which is what they seem to be doing. Yep, exactly. And there shouldn't be no big personalities in Flat Earth. It's not about that. It's about the individual. It's about taking back your own authority and learning to discern for yourself. That's what it's about. There's no personalities. There shouldn't be anyway. There is, but there shouldn't be. It's not about that. It's about the individual. It's about learning to discern for yourself and looking out for yourself and trying to figure out who's who and what's what and trying to, like, what they call it, get a knowing, basically. Drop your beliefs and get a knowing. Yes, David Gilbert. We've never seen an ice wall, so people that are claiming that, you're like, well, hang on a minute. Prove it. Prove it. We've seen a few videos of some ice in Antarctica or something, you know what I mean, going on for a few miles, but that doesn't prove it's an ice wall. That just means there's a bit of ice in Antarctica. You know what I mean? It doesn't prove it's an ice wall going all the way around the Earth. Exactly. Who knows what's out there? We don't know, because we were born here, where we are, in our own places, into, like, basically captivity. Because you've got to get permission to go anywhere, because you've got to get a passport, which is basically having to appeal to authority and ask for permission to go somewhere, which you shouldn't have to do. It's just like a cult that has permission to go somewhere, permission where to live. So, you know, you've got to live in this country that you're in. You can't just go off and live anywhere you want on the earth, because you've got to have permission. You've got to ask permission to do so, which is a characteristic of a cult. There's quite a few characteristics of cults that fit into society. So, yeah, so that makes me want to fight for it. I just want to know where I am. 100% truth, where I am, and then figure out who I am. I know who I'm not. I'm not who they say. I'm not who I'm told I am. I know that. But like I said, I just want to know where I am, who I really am, and why I'm here. That's all I want to know. I don't care if it's something bad or something good. I don't. It doesn't bother me. I've got no expectations. I just want to know. I just want the truth. I want to find the truth and get the truth, so I can have a proper grounding and I know exactly where I am, who I am, and why I'm here. And everyone should be wanting the same. We should drop all the bullshit and just say, look, we want to know where we are, who we are, and why we're here. End of. It might make sense, but like I said, we've never seen it, so we can't claim that there is one until we've been there and we've actually gone all the way around it and seen it. You know what I mean? Then we can say, well, look, we've got proof here. You know what I mean? If you start claiming things and saying, oh, there's this, and this, and we ain't got the proof. If we're claiming, then the burden of proof is on us to prove it. And if we ain't got the proof, then, you know what I mean? That's why we shouldn't be claiming anything. We should be just saying, look, the heliocentric model is the claim. So then they've got the burden of proof. Once we start claiming things, then we've got the burden of proof on us. We have to prove it then. Which we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be claiming anything. Don't claim anything unless you have definitive proof for your claim and you can show it practically. It is weird the amount of people that's in the streets. No one talks to each other. I do though, and if I'm walking up to school runs, and people walking past me, I always say hello. You all right? How you doing? I always say hello. Or you all right? Or how you doing? Or whatever. I always talk to people when I walk past them in the streets. Probably not when I'm in town and there's like hundreds of people. I don't just come to people and go, all right, how you doing? And stuff like that. But if I walk past the odd person, I'll say, all right, how you doing? And stuff. So, but Tamo, it's designed to be that way. You don't want people talking to each other and everything, because then people will be like starting to understand and stuff like that. And when people get together and start talking, they don't like that. What's that, Tamo? It's not the custom here though. People look scared and in panic. All right. Well, here where I am, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, like I said, I also all right to people. I really are. For walking up on school run and walk past the odd person, I'll say, all right, how you doing? And they will say, all right, how you doing back? So manners don't cost though. Saying hello, how you doing, and small talk with people, even people you don't know. You know what I mean? Don't cost though. Manners don't cost though. Being polite and being nice to people doesn't cost anything. And who does have the proof? I don't know. Someone will, won't they, Frankie B. Flat? Someone will have the proof of where we are and everything else. Didn't they go to Antarctica in 46? So like the mid-40s, the early 50s, stuff like that. And they've been there ever since. So someone's got the proof. Someone's mapped it all out and mapped everywhere. And it's been kept somewhere, all that. Who has that? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But we ain't got that. So like I said, we can't go around claiming things and that unless we have the proof ourselves. Because once you start claiming something, the burden of proof lies on you. That's why we should just go, look, I'm not claiming anything. I'm asking for the burden of proof is on the heliocentric model. I'm asking for your proof. Show me your proof. You can't show it me practically using the tangible substances that are in reality. Then how do you expect me to think that's true? I was going to use the word believe then, but no, you shouldn't believe the words and the thoughts of other men. You just go out and find out for yourself and learn. It is good to be polite to people, yeah. People are losing those skills because there's all the mobile phones, walking down the road like that, going on the phones like that all the time. Constantly looking at a screen, not looking up, not looking where they're going or anything. You go up to a lot of people, tell them the earth is flat. Yeah, but I bet you get some right expressions, don't you? Yeah, you see that a lot and all the time up. But when I'm out and about and I'm walking to a shop, if someone's coming out and I'm opening the door, I'll hold the door open for me and let them come out, and then I'll go in. Or even if I'm coming out of a shop, I'll still hold the door open till they've come in, then I'll go out. You know what I mean? I also hold the door open for people, and the lifts, hold them open for people and all. And like I said, manners and politeness don't cost anything. I mean, just be nice to people, be polite, have manners. Yeah, but you shouldn't expect anything in return for being nice and polite and having manners and towards people. I don't expect anything for it. I just do it because that's who I am, and I've always been like that. I do it with anybody, time, or men or women. I'll hold the door for them and let them come in and out and that. And You know what I mean? Do it for anybody. That's that Stephen Watson. I said hello to someone in London, Hyde Park 2010, looked at me like I was demented. Well, they will do, because people don't do that anymore. It's gone. It's been taken away. Dimitri, do you have a business email to contact you for discussion? No, I don't have a business email, no. Yeah, Stephen, do you look demented? But it doesn't matter if you do it. Even if you look, it doesn't matter what you look like. Like, what's that saying? You don't judge a book by its cover. So, yeah, I keep teaching my children manners, please, thank you, and stuff like that, and good manners. Be nice. Probably be at Graves Park in Sheffield, up towards the south end of Sheffield. I don't know when yet. I'll figure that out. I'll sort something out over the next few days, and I'll put a video up when it's going to be. There's some more going on. There's one on 26th of May in Bristol. There's one on 2nd June in Heaton Park in Manchester, Jamie Brown. So I'll work around them somewhere and put it around about that time. Hi, Baron Bonskovich. How you doing? I hope it's a nice day and all, yeah. I won't start with snowflakey, Lady Onyx. I can't stand judgmental people either. We're not here to judge people. To just discern people's walk and stuff, people's talk. Like you said, kindness and manners don't cost nothing. I've never subscribed to any religion, organized religion. Right. Hello. I've said hello to everyone. Kindness and politeness is just kindness and politeness to me. I don't expect nothing from it or all that. It's just the way I am. I just do it because it's the right thing to do. It's not rained there for a bit, then Frankie be flat. Where's your water coming from? Have a drought soon, wouldn't you? Ever met with my life? No, I'm not gonna have any beliefs. I'm gonna get a knowing. If I can't see it for myself and test it and find the proof, then there you go, Frankie be flat. Go to Estonia. We'll get some rain. Yeah. Kindness all the way. Sometimes you have to be cool to be kind, though. Yep, you do. But it's like telling the truth. It annoys people. A lot of people don't like the truth, do they? As Peter and Peter'd say. Well, that reminds me, Frankie, I've got to plant some more chili plants. I had two, but my wife overwatered them and they died. They're dead. I need to get rid of them and plant some more. Like chili peppers. I used to pluck them off when they were ready, like, you know, and chop them up, put them in some food and eat them. It's like a telephone. You got to pick it up and dial the number. What's that, heavy metal in my life? What's like a telephone? Oh, Scotch bonnet. Yeah, I like them. I was growing some of them. I had some Scotch bonnet growing and some some other ones. They're hotter than Scotch bonnets. Can't remember what they call them now. Yeah, I had some Scotch bonnets growing, and I had some other ones growing. I bought them from supermarket. I took some seeds out, and I dried the seeds out, and I planted them, and they started growing. And I started getting some chili peppers. I can't remember what they call them now, but they're hotter than Scotch bonnet anyway. That's right, David Gilbert. Yeah, we spend all winter freezing, going, when's it going to get warmer? And it warms up a bit, and we're like, oh, it's a bit too hot. Got to get fan out, put fans on. No, they weren't ghost chilies. I've had ghost chilies, but they weren't ghost chilies. They were something else. They're grown here in the UK, down south, but I can't remember what they call them there. I've still got some seeds in the kitchen. What's that, Frank? Be flat. I say it's war against these evil people that have trapped us. Yeah, but I don't condone violence. No violence. But to use as minds and intellect and stuff like that. Yeah, they're the Reaper. No, Tamo. I said I don't condone violence. I stick to my morals, which is cause no loss or harm to any man, woman, or child. No matter who they are. But if someone's attacking me, I'll defend myself and I'll hit back. I mean, that's about it. I won't. Peaceful rebellion. Yep. Mass non-compliance. Peaceful rebellion. Because once you start getting violent and stuff like that, they can get more violent than what we could Trust me. So they'd crush you straight away. But saying that, even if you're peaceful and peaceful rebellion, they'll still crush you anyway. So, but probably not as bad. So we just have to use our intellect and our brains. I don't condone violence, because violence breeds violence, basically, isn't it? You shouldn't harm anybody, cause anyone no loss or harm. I love spicy food, me. I think I was born on the wrong continent, I think. I love spicy food. I love chilies and spicy food. I could eat it constantly. Andy A.K. Rudolph Eschensack. No, it wasn't about police being called on Dell. It was on about when there were 3 religious people that were travelling from Scotland to London with no money. The police were called on those religious people because they were walking and hanging about on the streets. So Dell managed to be walking past at the time, and he says to him, well, I'll take him in and put him in my shed for night and give him a heater and some blankets and stuff and put him in his shed for night, and took him down to the coach station and put him on a coach down south a bit. So the police weren't called on Dell. That's not what it were about. It was just saying about when the 3 religious people were travelling with no money. The police were called on them, the religious people, because they were stood about on the street corner. That's what that were about. I love hot chilies and spicy food. I could eat it constantly. No matter what food I have, well, I don't know about what food I have. If I'm having chili con carne, I've got to put some spicy chilies in there. If I'm having something with chips, I've got like chili sauce, really hot chili sauce that I put on my chips, and I put chili on everything nearly, or chili in everything nearly. I love having a jagged potato with some beans and some grated cheese on top, with what they call it, hot chili powder or hot chili sauce in the beans. No, it's all right, Marshall. It's fine. I love hot sauce. I love it. Hot chilies and hot sauce. Really good. That's all right, Andy. It's easily done, Andy, if you're halfway through a conversation, you know what I mean? And then you've got trolls there fucking prodding it and that and messing about. People can get wrong end at stick out there, but like I said, you've got to be careful. I've had Carolina Reapers before, yeah. But it's not that. I can't remember what they call the chilies. I grew some. I bought them from the supermarket and I took some seeds out and I grew them, but I can't remember what they call them now. They're not Scotch bonnets. I grew some Scotch bonnets. Like I said, I had 2 plants in the kitchen window, but wife watered them and she overwatered them and they died. So I'm going to have to put some more in. I've got strawberries in back garden growing as well. I love fowls and tindaloos and vindaloos and all that sort of stuff. But I only have vegetable ones now since I've become a vegetarian. I used to have my chicken ones, but I only have vegetable ones now. And it's hard to find a really good vegetable vindaloo or fowl or whatever. Hard to find one when you get a takeaway because they all use different vegetables and that in them, and some of them are too much onion. I don't really like big chunks of onion, so it's hard to find one. But cayenne pepper. Naga chilies, yeah, I've had Naga chilies there, all right. But hi, eyes wide shut. How you doing? I did a couple of things on NLP and pseudoscience near the beginning. So, and I left links in the chat. If anyone wants to go back and have a look later, I'll leave links in the description for the video and all when I'm finished. What's that? Uppercut. How you doing? Rose hip builds your immune system. Steve, I have Carolina Reaper mouthwash. You like with Carolina Reaper mouthwash. It's good for you, though, isn't it? Chili peppers are good for you. So, Reaper eye drops. Hi, Stephen. Sorry, did I miss you? Was pushing the dogs. Is that me or is that Stephen Watson? Oh, no, it's Stephen Watson. Right. We might call it a night now. I think I'm only been on for. You've been doing, Sandra? Brushing your dogs. Like I said, everybody just watch your backs and look into what I've shown tonight about NLP and stuff like that. Look for it to keep looking into the trivium and stuff. Let's learn to discern for ourselves and get out of this bullshit, basically. You've only just got your eyes wide shut. You'll have to watch it back later. I don't know. I've been on for what? An hour and 15. Unless somebody wants to come in. Yeah, about an hour and 15 minutes. Tools for truth, yeah. We started about 10 dinner, so it's like 11:15. It's about an hour and 15 minutes now. So now you take care too, uppercut. Everybody. I'm gonna go for a cup of tea, I think. Go for a cigarette outside. And I might wash pots and go to bed, I think. Yeah, take care, everyone. Yeah, I might go sit on the doorstep outside and have a cigarette. Cup of tea. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to do another meetup for the next few weeks. I'll make a video, or on my next live stream I'll bring it up again and more details on it. Yeah, say good night to everybody then. And like I said, there's links in the chat, and I'm going to put them in the description now for the things that I put on earlier. People want to go and have a look. The one about pseudoscience, it's on my channel anyway as a video, but I thought I'd go through it again. I think it's a bit cloudy outside at the minute where I am. Good night, everybody. Cheese on toast. I've not had my tea yet either, but I'll probably leave it now until tomorrow dinner time before I have something to eat. Good night. Bye.